Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to have a look at a beer from another brewery that I've never tried anything from before. As I've told you in previous videos, there's somewhere in the region of 700 breweries in Sweden these days, which is crazy when you consider there's only about 10 million people here. But amongst these very small breweries you can actually find some real gems, and that's the main reason why I like introducing these relatively small and quite unknown breweries for you guys here on the channel, and it's one of those that we're going to have a look at today. This is also a style of beer that I've been getting very into again recently, and I'm just curious to see how this one turns out. So we're going to go quite a bit north for this review. We're going to go to Luleå on the kind of northeast coast of Sweden, I guess you could say, and we're going to have a look at my first beer from Bottenvikens Bryggeri. So if we translate that name into English, I guess it means like the Bothnian Gulf, the Bothnian Inlet Brewery, maybe, something like that. But this particular beer is called Lager på Lager, Lager on Lager. And it comes in at 5% ABV, and obviously it is a lager beer. It's supposed to be some kind of Helles lager, this one, I guess. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. Like I said, I've been enjoying a lot of lagers recently. I got this beer through the local Småska Likt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden. This one was released as part of that for November of 2020, and the main reason I got this one was just because it was another brewery that I hadn't had anything from, and you know, I wanted a couple of lagers in that order as well. So yeah, curious to see how this one turns out. Like I said, nice to introduce Bottenvikens Bryggeri for you here on the first time, and hopefully we can have a look at a few more of their beers at some point in the near future. But I think this one should be a nice introduction to them. So yeah, fingers crossed this is another good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy this one, and I hope that you guys enjoy these reviews from the very small Swedish breweries actually. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Bottenvikens Bryggeri. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Bottenvikens Bryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, Bottenvikens Bryggeri are from quite far up north. They're from Luleå, in the very kind of northeast of Sweden almost, but the company was founded back in 2013 by Mattias Bergström and Joachim Nilsson. So the two started out home brewing and they got very good feedback on their beers, and so eventually they decided to create a commercial company. So the early batches were only 100 litres, and the brewery was based in a small basement premises right in the kind of centre of the city. But they never used to brew the same beer twice apparently, and each bottle had a poem on it that was written by Joachim Nilsson, and the beers and the poems were always related to each other. So they continued brewing like this for quite a while, and then in early 2019 the decision was made to expand the brewery after Joachim was made redundant from his job with quite a long notice, and so he decided that he was going to commit full time to the brewery and, you know, get it off the ground properly, I guess we could say. But they opened a new brewery in the Untiviken industrial estate in Luleå, and this is equipped with a 1,000 litre brew kit, and they've been gradually building up their customer base over the last about 2 years or so it will be now. But as of December 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, according to Untappd, these guys have produced around 40 different kinds of beer, but like I said, they used to you know, only brew in very small 100 litre batches and then change the beer, so they've probably done a hell of a lot more than that, and they haven't been marked on Untappd. I actually can't remember what year Untappd came out, to be honest, but when these guys have been around since about 2013 or so, with their first beers in 2014, just in local restaurants and things, probably quite a few of the beers they did are not marked on Untappd. I think that's fairly safe to say that. But yeah, that's all the information I could really find on Bottenvikens Bryggeri for the moment. But like I said, hopefully we can do some more beers from these guys in the future, and I'm sure there will be a longer story to tell about them at some point then. But yeah, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about the different beers that these guys have done as well. So yeah, let's get on and actually taste this beer then. Curious to see how this one turns out. So there you can see the artwork, I have to say, is pretty cool. I do like that, the bridge, the water, and the sun there, or maybe it's meant to be the moon, not quite sure, but yeah, looks very, very nice. Quite a cool style of artwork, I have to say. Like we said earlier, the beer is called Lager på Lager, a 5% kind of Helles Lager, this one, and it does tell you a little bit about the beer on the back. So it says a good way to dress yourself when it's cold is Lager på Lager, the principle basically. To dress yourself easily this way gives a good and how do we say in past things, but fitting protection from cold, wet and wind. The principle works around that, basically works year round and all weathers, but when it gets even colder, but works better when it gets even colder, windier, and there's tougher weather. You should before. Yeah, so it's basically saying that before this, it is important that you just dress yourself using the Lager på Lager principle. So basically, it's saying I think it means layer upon layer, basically, if I've understood this correctly. So it's saying to you, use the Lager på Lager principle whenever it, if it's rainy, if it's windy or it's cold. And I guess that far north in Sweden, it probably is going to be like that quite a lot of the time. I need to get up there at some point and have a look at it. So the furthest north I've been so far is Uppsala. So yeah, that's definitely something that we need to fix. But it says here as well, I din hand hålla du nu en lager från Luleå. So in your hand now you hold a lager from Luleå, a town in Norrbotten that can offer both that offers both snow. It can offer both snow, whipping wind, I think that is, and all the time and everything all the time. So our lager beer, our Lager på Lager, is a fresh lager that we think you can drink on the corner, in the Cam of Home, or in one of Norrbotten's many restaurants. That's what it's saying here. So I think that's I think I've translated that fairly well. Those of you who are native Swedish speakers, unlike Swedish as a foreign language speakers like me, you guys will probably be able to interpret that a little bit better. But I think I did an okay job. I'm getting better with the Swedish translations, as I said. But yeah, and it's a bit difficult when you do the videos to kind of think of it right off the top of your head like that in a few, in 30 seconds or whatever. But yeah, pressure's on, guys. That's it. But yeah, 5% lager beer. This one, from what I gather, it is a Helles lager. And as I said, released on the 1st of November 2011 as part of the Lokal's most elite assortment. 330ml can. I think this cost me like 25 or 30 crowns, something like that. But yeah, it was another brewery that I hadn't tried anything from before, so there we go. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. It's got a little bit excited and a little bit fluffy on the top, but I'm sure we can still get this out and into the glass. There we are. There we are. It should behave itself. This will be alright, that's going to dissipate quite quickly. There you are then. Right, stick this guy back down, there we go. Right, so as you can see with this beer, this is poured a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour. Still getting bubbles sticking to the side of the glass. I literally washed this about 20 minutes before doing the video. It's typical. Always happens, so I'm still getting a couple of big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there. But anyway, as you can see, this beer is poured a lovely pale golden straw colour. If we shine this up to the light, it's got a little bit of a kind of natural haze to it, but you kind of expect that. It does look quite like a Pilsner or a Helles, obviously. But you can see when we poured the beer, it had a solid 2-finger frothy white head there. It's got a good bit of bumpiness to it now as the head just kind of dissipates and calms down a wee bit. But yeah, there is quite a wee bit of carbonation visible in this one. And when you've got a lager beer, you do maybe want, depending on whether it's a Pilsner or not, a Helles you maybe want to be a little bit smoother. But with a Pilsner you do want a bit of carbonation in it to you know, just to give you a little bit of that crispness in there. But it certainly does look quite nice actually. So yeah, as you can see, if I put my fingers behind the glass, the beer does have a little bit of a kind of natural haze to it, and overall it does look pretty nice actually. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma of this one and see how we got on. Nothing overly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is. This one quite obviously is a Helles lager, as the Germans would call it, or I guess in the Czech Republic you could call this one a Svetli. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma and see how we get on with this one. Ooh, right, okay. It's a bit difficult to say from the aroma whether this is going to be more of a Czech lager or more of a German one. My instinct wants to say German, and the main difference between the German lagers for me and the Czech ones are that the Czech ones tend to be a little bit kind of thicker and breadier than the German ones. I think the German ones tend to be a little bit more kind of crisp, and you do get that out of this actually as well. You can smell a little bit of Pilsner malt in this, I think. Yeah, you can definitely smell a little bit of Pilsner malt along with a little bit of kind of pale malt and stuff in here for sure. Or maybe Munich malt. It does have a little bit of a German quality to it for sure. I do want to say there's maybe a little bit of Munich malt in this one. So yeah, the aroma profile of this one is basically what you would expect for a kind of Helles lager beer. I think I would stick with that. So yeah, I'm going to say that this one and its aroma comes across as being more German. So you get a lovely kind of white bready base to the beer. You can smell a little bit of that more kind of crisp Pilsner malt further back on the nose, which is quite nice. There's a good little bit of a kind of McVitie's Digestive sort of biscuity caramel on this one, which I really like. Yeah, you do get a wee touch of just a McVitie's Digestive biscuity sort of thing in this one. But I would say that overall, the malty side of the beer does lean more towards that soft, white breadiness in there. There's a bit of a Munich malt in there. There's a little bit of that kind of biscuity, that you do get a little bit of that nice kind of biscuity. You do get a nice little bit of that biscuity sort of McVitie's Digestive thing in there. It's got everything that you would want. It's got a wee bit of Pilsner quality to it, but it's also got a little bit of that more kind of bready Munich Helles sort of thing in the malt base as well. Other than that, I don't think there's too much to report in terms of the aroma and of the malt in this one. So the hoppy side of things, again, it comes across quite noble. So this one is very likely to have probably, you know, Hallertau or Tettnanger hops in it, possibly, you know, Czech Sats or, you know, Styrian Goldings from Slovenia. Those are the 4 types of hops that are quite possible in this one, I would think. You've also got stuff like the Polish Lubelski and other things from Poland that would fit this beer, but I think it's more likely to be one of those 4 that I mentioned previously. But yeah, you get a nice little bit of earthiness out of it, just a soft earthiness, which is what you'd expect. You've got quite a bright floral aromaticity out this one, and that's what makes me think there's maybe, I've got a feeling it could be Žatec, the Sats hops from the Czech Republic that are in here, because the floral aromaticity has a good little bit of punch to it, but you've also got a nice little bit of a kind of lighter grassy note to the beer, and there are just a few of these very slightly citrusy, fruity esters in here. So for me, there's a little bit of a peary note to it. You've got a wee bit of an appley quality in there, and maybe a tiny little touch of like an apricot or something. Tiny little bit of apricot in there. But yeah, peary, appley esters, and a good little bit of a nice kind of citrusy zest actually. So I like how this one goes together in that sense. Yeah, this beer gets a thumbs up from me. I really like the aroma of this one, and it is quite fitting. As I say, it's got a wee bit of Pilsner character to it. It does have some of the crispness you'd expect of a Pilsner character, but it's got more of a kind of Munich Helles type vibe about it. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It's not quite thick and bready enough to be a Czech Svetli in my mind actually. So remember, when it comes to the Czech beers, the Svetli is basically the blonde lager, so it's the equivalent of the Munich and the Dortmunder Helles actually. So yeah, always interested to think about these different lagers, but yeah, quite a little bit of Pilsner quality as I say, but mainly more like a kind of Munich Helles for me. So yeah, nice aroma profile to this one. It's got everything you'd want, and remember, when it comes to lager beers, the way you should really rate these, I think, is that you know, authenticity, and that's what we're going to look for in this one. So let's have a taste of this then and see how we go on. So basically, this is a beer that teaches you to basically dress layer on layer, to basically clothe up when you go further north in Sweden. I think that's a good motto to have. If the further north in Sweden you go, take more clothes with you. But yeah, this one is a lager beer coming in at 5.5% ABV from Bottenvikens Bryggeri in Luleå in Norrbotten County in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah. Again, it's nicely. That's nicely done. Yeah. What I'll say is, it doesn't do anything surprising, but it's just nicely crafted. I mean, you can't ask for more than that from these. You can't ask for more than that from a lager beer. I think you just want it to be well crafted. You want it to be authentic, and this one does have that actually. It's a nice drinkable lager beer. This one, it does lean towards the kind of bready sort of side of things. I think it's got a wee bit of crispness to it as well, right enough. But I like how that goes together. So thumbs up to Bottenvikens Bryggeri for this one. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like how this. I like how this one goes together. Actually, I certainly would drink that again. I'll say that straight away. My one complaint about it is that it's only a 330ml can. I don't like that. I have to say it's something. My friend Thomas Hoendam at Thomas Open, he pointed this out to me that he doesn't like. Lager beers in the 330ml cans, and you know, just over time it's always stuck with me, and I agree with him. I think if you're doing a lager beer, it needs to be at least a 440. So you know, I do think that lager beers, selling lagers in 330s, I don't like that. It's usually it's frustrating because when you find good ones that you like, it's gone. They're usually just gone so quickly. So yeah, that's one of the unfortunate things. Yeah, I think this needs to be a 440ml can. So yeah, not sure how easy it is to calibrate a canning machine to do that. Probably fairly easy, I would think. But yeah, this beer needs to be a 440, I think, rather than a 330. But yeah, it is a solid lager, this one. Yeah, where to start with this beer then? Straight away, you get a nice little bit of that kind of pale malty quality. That blankets the middle of your tongue, but on top of it, as you go further into the aftertaste, you can feel like a sort of Pilsner type crispness sitting on top of this one. As I've told you in previous reviews, Pilsner malt is one of the most annoying things to describe because it really just gives you more of a kind of mouthfeel rather than anything but it does give you a little bit of a kind of biscuity quality, and in fairness, in the middle third of your palate and towards the back third of your tongue, that's what you've got. You've got a nice smooth kind of white bready base to the beer, then you've got a layer of kind of Pilsner malt and that sort of crispness just sitting on top of it. You go into the very centre of your palate though, you do get a nice little bit, in the very centre you get a nice wee sort of oily circle if you like, and there's a sort of sweet McVitie's digestive oily biscuit kind of thing sitting there, and as you move out from the centre of your palate towards the edge, then you do start to get more of the kind of graininess out of the biscuit as well. And on the back third of your palate, it does actually have a good little bit of oiliness there. You do get a wee bit of sweetness there, but the breadiness, I think, on the back third of your palate just thickens up a wee bit actually. So yeah, this is quite an interesting one. It does have quite a bit of Pilsner type crispness to it, but at the same time there's a good little bit of oily character to this beer as well actually. So I really like how this one goes together in that sense, I have to say. So yeah, I would actually say that this is quite an oily lager beer, this one, in my mind. It's almost like it really reminds me more of the more oily kind of Pilsners that I've had, but at the same time the malty base is a little bit too smooth to term it a straight up Pilsner, if that makes sense. But yeah, I like this one. This is a really nice, just drinkable lager beer. As I say, it's got everything you would want from this particular style. So yeah, other than that, I don't think there's too much to report on the malty side of things. In the back corners of the palate, there's a wee touch of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it gets a little bit herbal. Then as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, it's a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic. And then round the very front curve of the tongue, the beer is just a little bit lighter and more grassy actually. So I really like how that goes together. In terms of the In terms of the kind of fruity side of the beer, on the front third of your palate, as I always say, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. This one, again, it's got a good bit of oily character there, but it's doing everything you'd expect. You've got a good little bit of a peary ester in there, you've got a wee bit of an apple, and on the front edge of your tongue, you've just got a little bit of a kind of lemony, citrusy, zesty kind of thing coming out of it. So yeah, it's nice, this one. As I say, everything you'd expect, nothing surprising from the style, but just quite nicely done. And you can't ask for much more. So yeah, gets a thumbs up from me, this one. The only kind of downside I can see to this beer, as I say, is that I don't like lagers in 330ml cans anymore, but as I say, it was my friend Thomas that ruined that for me. He put that thought in my head and now it's just stuck. But yeah, solid beer, this one. But I would say to them, consider sticking that in a half litre or a 330 can actually. But yeah, it does come across quite nicely, this one. Quite an oily, it's more like a very oily Pilsner, this one. That's what I would say about it actually. But solidly done, and it does make me curious about some of the other beers that they've got in their range actually. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel, I think we've talked about that a little bit already, in fairness. I would describe this beer as being at the top end of light bodied. Yeah, carbonation's very smooth, and the mouthfeel overall is a little bit more kind of a little bit more oily rather than anything else. You've got a good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I think it's only about 20 IBUs that you'd get out of this one. Yeah, maybe about 20 or so IBUs. And then you've also got a little bit of, as I say, you've got just a nice little bit of an oily fruitiness out of this one. I like how this goes together. The beer does have a wee bit of a kind of zesty quality actually, but overall it comes together really quite nicely in my mind. So yeah, gets a thumbs up from me, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. It's got everything that you would want from a lager beer. 20 IBUs, nice kind of smooth malt base with a little bit of sweetness and a wee bit of a slightly oily kind of fruity character to it as well. So yeah, thumbs up to Bottenvikens Bryggeri for this one. This has turned out to be a nice example of the lager style. Quite an oily Pilsner leaning beer in this one in my mind, but with a little bit more of a kind of Helles, German Helles type breadiness to it. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Lager på Lager, a 5% kind of Helles type lager beer from Bottenvikens Bryggeri in Luleå, away up north in the kind of on the east coast of Sweden, if you like. So yeah, hopefully I can get up there sometime and take a look around. I'd love to go and see what the north of Sweden's like, all the mountains and stuff. I've heard it's very nice, but yeah, that's something for the future actually, and definitely not something to do in the winter, not at the moment, especially not in the COVID-19 situation. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Bottenvikens Bryggeri. We will return to these guys at some point soon, but in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys later. This was the Lager på Lager from Bottenvikens in Luleå in the very north of Sweden. Slange, skull, cheers, and catch you guys on the next one.